Welcome. Today is not an accident. If you're watching this video, it's because you were meant to. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, right now, this very moment. Maybe you've lost something. Maybe you've been questioning your purpose, your path, your pain, and maybe you've even been asking God, why are you silent? I want you to listen very carefully, because today's video is not just a video. It's a message from above, not from me, but from the one who created you and still has a plan for you. No matter your background, your mistakes, or your religion, this message is for you. In the next few minutes, you're going to understand why everything fell apart, why the silence was necessary, why your pain was not punishment, and what you must do next. This may be the video that changes your entire life. So take a deep breath and let your heart listen. Because sometimes that voice you've been waiting for doesn't sound like thunder. It sounds like this. Part 1. The pain you never spoke about. You've been carrying something heavy, maybe for months, maybe for years, pain that no one knows about, because you've been pretending that you're okay. You smile at work, you laugh with friends, but when the night comes and you're alone, the silence starts speaking louder than your strength. Maybe you lost someone. Maybe they broke your heart. Maybe your dreams never came true, even though you tried your best. Maybe you're tired of being the strong one when no one checks if you're still breathing inside. You prayed, you cried, you screamed into your pillow, and still, no answer. You thought, God, where are you? And maybe, just maybe, you started to believe, God forgot me. But here's the truth that no one told you. Sometimes God will destroy your plans, not to hurt you, but to protect you. Because what you were building was about to destroy you. You were chasing people who didn't love you. You were walking into places you didn't belong. You were holding on to dreams that were not yours to carry. And so, he removed them, not because he was punishing you, but because he saw what you couldn't see. He saw the future. You only saw the moment. And now you're here, still breathing, still fighting. That alone is proof. You are already in the process. That's why you're alive. That's why you're watching this video. You didn't come this far by accident. He was working while you were crying. He was preparing you while you were breaking. He was listening, even when he said nothing. You thought it was over, but it was just the beginning. The pain you thought would destroy you is becoming the reason you're about to rise. And let me remind you of something important. Put God first, before success, before revenge, before anyone's opinion. Because when God is first, everything else falls into place, even if it takes time. And maybe right now, you're still afraid of the future, afraid of uncertainty, afraid of being left behind. But let me ask you something. When was the future ever certain? We worry about what we can't control, but the truth is, control was never ours. All we can do is surrender. Not give up, surrender. Surrender to God. Surrender your pain. Surrender your expectations. Surrender your timeline. And trust that what's meant for you will find you. Because it will, in a way you never imagined, from a door you didn't knock, at a time you least expect. You're not too late, you're not too broken, and you're not forgotten. You are being built, in silence, in darkness, in confusion. God doesn't show the full plan, because if he did, you'd run from it, not toward it. So instead, he gives you the next step, and then the next, one moment at a time. That's not delay, that's love. And right now, he's saying to you, just trust me. You're closer than you think. Part 2. Why nothing worked. There were moments. You gave everything you had. You worked day and night. You prayed with all your heart. You did the right thing, even when it was hard. And still, it didn't work. The relationship ended. The job didn't come. The healing didn't happen. The people you loved walked away. And deep down, you started asking, if I gave my best, if I believed so much, why did it still fail? You thought maybe God was punishing you, or ignoring you, or blessing others and skipping your name. But here's the truth. It didn't fail because you weren't worthy. It failed because it was not your destiny. It didn't work because it wasn't meant to. What you were asking for was not part of the higher plan. You were praying for the wrong door to open, and when it stayed closed, you felt forgotten. But let me tell you something sacred. Sometimes unanswered prayers are the greatest protection. You didn't fail. You were being protected. That relationship you lost, you don't know what it would have done to your peace. That job that rejected you, you don't know the trap it would have become. That person who left you, you don't know what God saw behind the curtain. You were crying over a broken plan, but God was busy building a better one behind the scenes. You see, He's not just the God of your today, He's the God of your forever. You only see the moment, He sees the entire map. So when you were crying, He wasn't silent to hurt you, He was silent to lead you. You don't build a strong house on weak ground. So He removed what was unstable. He delayed what wasn't ready. He broke what was about to break you. And that's why nothing worked. Because something better was being shaped. Inside you. You wanted change around you. But God wanted transformation within you. You were asking, God, change my situation. And God was whispering, let me change your soul. The waiting, the confusion, the failure, all of it was preparation. Because God never wastes pain. He uses it. Your silence built your strength. Your rejection gave you direction. Your delay gave you depth. And your heartbreak gave you heart. You were not being punished. You were being prepared. Prepared for something bigger, something deeper, something permanent. Let me say something clearly, for the person watching this in silence right now. You didn't do anything wrong. You did your best, and it didn't work because it was not supposed to. You're not being left behind. You're being led forward, but not by your plan, by God's. And His plan doesn't fail. You asked for a blessing. He gave you a lesson. Not because He's cruel, but because the lesson will carry you longer than the blessing ever could. So don't look back in regret. Don't ask, what if it had worked? It didn't, and that's the greatest gift. You were saved from something, so you could be saved for something. And one day, when you look back, you'll say, I'm glad it didn't work, because if it had, I wouldn't be who I am today. You don't need to understand the process. You just need to trust the hands behind it. And that's what faith really is. Not understanding, but surrender. Surrender to the one who saw what you couldn't, who blocked what you didn't know was dangerous, and who is now quietly preparing something greater. Something that doesn't just look good, but something that will finally feel like home. Something that will give you peace, not pain. Truth, not confusion. And love, not loss. Part 3. The plan you can't see right now. Let's be honest. You want answers. You want signs. You want to know. Is all this pain leading somewhere? Or am I just wasting years of my life waiting for something that may never happen? You don't want fake hope. You don't want empty words. You want to see something real. You want a reason to believe that you're not just surviving for nothing. And I want to tell you something. The truth you've never been told. The most powerful plans of God are usually invisible in the beginning. Why? Because if He showed you the full plan, you'd run, you'd doubt it, you'd sabotage it, or you'd try to control it with your own timeline. That's why God doesn't give full explanations. He gives silent preparation. When a tree begins to grow, its roots grow downward into the dark earth before anything appears above ground. For weeks, sometimes months, there's nothing to see. People walk by and say, "There's nothing happening." But underground, something powerful is taking place. The roots are spreading, the foundation is forming. And one day, out of nowhere, that tree breaks through the soil and reaches the sky. Your life is just like that. The reason you don't see the results right now is because God is still growing your roots, your strength, your character, your wisdom, your ability to carry what you're praying for. Because without roots, the moment your success comes, you'll collapse. You're not waiting for nothing. You're not stuck. You're being made ready. But I know what you're thinking. How long do I have to wait? What if I've already waited too long? What if nothing ever changes? Listen closely. Faith is not built in comfort. It's built in mystery. If you understood everything, it wouldn't be faith. It would be control. But God doesn't want your control. He wants your trust. Not blind faith, but mature faith. The kind that says, even when I don't see anything changing, I believe something is happening. Because sometimes the plan is the process. The plan is not always about reaching a destination. Sometimes it's about who you become while walking toward it. Look back for a moment. Think about the things you once cried for, the people you thought you needed, the failures you thought would destroy you, the mistakes you thought were the end. But you survived. You healed. You learned. And now you see, those things weren't punishments. They were preparation. That's how the plan works. God doesn't give you what you want when you want it. He gives you what you're ready to handle when you become the person who can carry it. You were not being ignored. You were being trained. And if you feel like nothing is moving in your life right now, that means you're in the middle of the most important part. The part where nothing makes sense. The part where people stop understanding you. The part where you're forced to walk alone. The part where you're tired, but still standing. That is the holy place. The place where real transformation happens. It's not the beginning. It's not the end. It's the in-between. And the in-between is sacred. That's where God builds warriors. That's where He removes your pride. That's where He shows you who is fake and who is faithful. That's where He teaches you how to walk by faith, not by sight. Some of you have been asking, why is my life so quiet right now? Why does it feel like I'm not moving? Let me give you the answer that your soul already knows. The quiet seasons are not empty. They are holy. They are the moments when God does His deepest work inside of you. In public, nothing may look different, but inside, you are being sharpened, molded, cleansed, built for something bigger. And maybe you won't understand it all today. Maybe the pain still feels heavy. Maybe you still feel forgotten. But here is the truth. You're not forgotten. You're hidden. Hidden from people who would have used you. Hidden from environments that would have broken you. Hidden from timing that would have crushed you. You are not behind. You are being positioned. Positioned for something that requires more strength than you had before. And that's why the plan is invisible right now, because it's not finished yet. God doesn't show half-finished work. He completes it in silence, and then reveals it in power. So don't be afraid of what you cannot see. Don't be afraid of walking in the dark. Because the dark is where the stars shine the brightest. The unknown is where faith becomes real, and the silence is where God does His loudest work. You asked for a clear plan. God is giving you something better, a stronger heart, a deeper soul, a foundation that no storm can destroy. And when it finally arrives, it won't just be a blessing. It will be a confirmation. A confirmation that every tear, every delay, every silent night was never wasted. You'll finally see. The plan wasn't missing. It was maturing. And now, so are you. Part 4. When life breaks you, it's preparing you. You didn't break because you were weak. You broke because you were being prepared for something strong. There are moments in life when everything you thought was solid falls apart. The people you loved the most leave. The plans you worked so hard for collapse. The things you believed were forever vanish in seconds. And when it happens, it doesn't just hurt, it changes you. You stop trusting. You stop dreaming. You stop believing that good things can happen for you. You start asking, what's the point of trying again if everything just breaks? And quietly, in the dark, you begin to build walls around your heart, not because you want to, but because you're tired of bleeding. You've carried betrayal in your chest. You've walked with disappointment like it was normal. You've learned how to smile while silently drowning. But let me tell you something that the world never told you. Life had to break you, because soft hearts cannot carry heavy callings. The pain was not to destroy you. It was to shape you. You were being carved, not cut. A diamond doesn't become a diamond without pressure. Gold doesn't shine without fire. And souls don't rise without falling first. God wasn't trying to hurt you. He was stripping away what was fake, what was weak, what couldn't go with you to the next level. You had to lose some people because their love was not real. You had to fall because your foundation was not solid. You had to go through the storm because the storm was the only thing that could cleanse you. It had to happen, not to break you down, but to wake you up. You were never meant to live a small life. You were never created to stay in places where your light had to be hidden just to be accepted. You were never supposed to depend on people who didn't even pray for you. And that's why it all broke. Because God couldn't allow you to build a future on false ground. He couldn't allow you to spend your life in circles. He couldn't let you settle for less than what He created you for. So He allowed the pain, not to punish you, but to pull you away from everything that wasn't part of your destiny. I know. It felt cruel. It felt unfair. It felt like everything was falling apart at once. But in that very moment, when it felt like you had nothing left, you were being born again. Not in a religious way, in a soul-deep way. The old version of you, the one that begged to be loved, the one that needed approval, the one that feared being alone. That version had to break, so the real you could rise. The one who walks in faith, the one who doesn't need validation, the one who trusts what God is doing, even when nothing makes sense. Sometimes the pain doesn't go away quickly. Sometimes the process feels endless. But that's because something deep is happening inside of you. You're not just recovering. You're rebuilding. You're learning how to protect your peace, how to love yourself without begging others, how to choose growth instead of comfort, how to be still and still be strong. You see, when life breaks you, two things can happen. You can become bitter, or you can become blessed. The pain can harden your heart, or it can open your spirit, and the choice is yours. But if you're watching this right now, if you made it this far, then maybe, just maybe, your soul is ready to choose healing. You didn't come this far to stay broken. You didn't survive the fire just to return to who you were before. You came this far because something in you refused to quit. Something in you kept whispering, "This isn't the end. I don't know how, but I'm going to rise again." And here you are. You're not perfect. You're not fully healed. But you're still here. And that means you're not defeated. You're being reshaped. Broken dreams don't mean your purpose is over. They mean your old direction has ended, and a new one is beginning. You're being given something you didn't ask for: strength, vision, patience, discernment, and above all, faith. So if life broke you, if people hurt you, if everything fell apart and you don't even recognize who you are anymore, then know this: you are right where you need to be, in the middle of transformation. And when you rise from this season, you won't just be stronger. You'll be clearer, you'll be calmer, you'll be called, not by the world, but by the one who allowed the breaking, so he could rebuild you with nothing fake left inside. Don't be ashamed of your brokenness. It's your testimony. It's your rebirth. The most beautiful souls are not the ones who never bled. They're the ones who bled and still chose to love again. You are not broken beyond repair. You are being rebuilt for a purpose beyond understanding. And one day, you will look back and thank the pain. Not because it was easy, but because it led you to become the strongest version of yourself, the one you were always meant to be. Part 5. God was working in silence. Always. There's something sacred about silence. It doesn't feel like love. It doesn't sound like comfort. It feels like being abandoned, like being ignored, like no one cares, not even God. And maybe that's where you've been lately. Praying and hearing nothing, hoping and seeing nothing, holding on while everything slips through your hands. You whispered, "God, where are you? Why are you letting this happen to me? Why do I feel so alone?" But here is what your pain never told you. He was there, always, not in the noise, not in the thunder, but in the stillness, in the quiet, in the invisible places where faith is born. Because the greatest miracles do not make a sound. A seed breaks open in silence. A heart begins to heal in silence. And God often moves in silence. While you were breaking, he was building. While you were losing, he was removing what couldn't go with you. While you were crying, he was collecting every tear. Not one was wasted. You thought he forgot you, but in reality, he was protecting you. From fake friends, from dangerous paths, from things you were begging for that would have broken your soul. He didn't say yes, because he loved you too much to give you what you weren't ready for. And now, you're stronger, not because the pain stopped, but because you didn't. You're here, not by accident, but by divine timing. Still breathing, still hoping, still standing, even after everything tried to bury you. And you've come to this moment for one reason: to finally understand that you were never alone. That even in the deepest valley, even when no one called, even when you had nothing left to give, God never left your side. Not once, not for a second. He let you fall, but not to the ground. He let you break, but only to rebuild you without the lies. He let you feel lost, so you would stop looking around and finally look up. Because the truth is, you were depending on things that could not save you. And now, you're being called to something greater. Not comfort, not safety, not approval, but purpose. So what do you do now? Now that you've seen the truth? Now that you know the silence wasn't the end? It was the beginning? You do the one thing the world fears. You surrender. Not give up. Not run away. But surrender. Your need to control. Your need to understand everything. Your fear of the future. Your anger about the past. You take your broken pieces and you place them in God's hands. And you say, I don't know what's next, but I trust you with everything. And then you begin again, quietly, slowly, but this time, with peace. You stop asking when. You stop begging why. You stop comparing your timeline to others. You stop chasing what was never meant for you. And you start walking, not with answers, but with faith. Faith that what's for you will not miss you. Faith that closed doors were not rejection, but direction. Faith that the silence was not abandonment, but protection. And every day, you do the only thing you were created for. You put God first. Not success, not relationships, not opinions, but the one who gave you this breath and trusted you to carry this pain for a reason. Because if you're still here, it means your story isn't over. It means the worst day of your life was not the last chapter. I will give you a short story that shows what true faith and trust really look like, even in the middle of a storm. There was once a brave naval officer who had just gotten married. Soon after their wedding, he took his wife along on his first voyage across the ocean. It was her first time at sea. Everything seemed peaceful in the beginning. Blue skies, calm waves, soft winds. But suddenly, a violent storm rose over the ocean. The sky turned black. The waves grew taller than the ship itself. Thunder roared and lightning flashed in every direction. The ship began to toss and shake. Panic spread among everyone on board. Passengers cried out. Some held hands and prayed. But one person was completely calm. The sailor. He stood still, silent, strong as if the sea was a friend. His wife, terrified, grabbed his arm and cried, "My dear husband, how are you so calm? Don't you see the danger? Aren't you afraid we might die?" The sailor gently looked at her. Then, without saying a word, he took out his sword and placed the sharp blade right at her neck. Her body froze, but her eyes never showed fear. He softly asked, "Are you afraid now?" She smiled through her tears and replied, "No, because I trust you. I know this sword is deadly, but I also know your heart. You would never hurt me." The sailor nodded and whispered, "And that's how I feel about this storm. It may look deadly, but I trust the one who controls it." That's what faith in God truly means. Not the absence of storms, but the presence of peace inside the storm, because you trust the one who is holding your life in his hands. It doesn't matter how dark the sky gets, how loud the thunder roars, how high the waves rise. If you trust God the way that wife trusted her husband, you will not be afraid, not because the situation is safe, but because his love is stronger than the storm. Hear this. What should you do next? Here are 4 truths to carry forward, not as tips, but as commands from love itself. 1. Stop fighting your past. Let it go. It's done. You don't need to fix what already fell apart. You need to stand up and walk forward with new eyes, with a healed heart. 2. Focus on your work, not the outcome. Forget about victory or defeat. Concentrate on your duty. Stay faithful in the task, not obsessed with the result. Obedience brings miracles. Discipline invites peace. 3. Surrender your future. It was never yours to control. The future is always uncertain. Then why waste your soul worrying about it? Stay present. Stay faithful. Let God open the doors meant for you, in His perfect time. 4. Never forget this. Sometimes God will destroy your plans, because He saw they were about to destroy you. Don't cry over broken plans. Celebrate the divine rescue. You've been through enough. You've carried enough. Now, it's time to rise, not with force, not with anger, but with faith. Faith that you are not behind. Faith that nothing you went through was wasted. Faith that every prayer was heard. And faith that something beautiful is on the way. Something written just for you. You may not have seen the full plan, but now you've seen enough to believe. God was working in silence, not behind your back, but behind the scenes, not to delay your blessing, but to prepare you to hold it. And when it comes, you'll be ready, not because you understood everything, but because you walked through the fire and refused to give up. So keep going, with peace in your chest, with light in your soul, and with the quiet confidence that God still has a plan for you. If you stayed till the end, then this message was meant for you, not just to watch, but to remind you of something powerful. You are not alone. You are not forgotten. You are not too late. God is still writing your story, and the next chapter will be more beautiful than you ever imagined. He will give you peace that no one can take. He will send blessings you didn't even ask for. And one day soon, He will give you something you never imagined, but always deserved. So don't lose hope. Keep going. Keep trusting. And no matter how silent it feels, remember, He is closer than ever. I pray that you heal where no one sees. I pray that you are guided when you feel lost. I pray that you receive everything your soul has been waiting for. May God bless you with a peace that doesn't make sense and a future that feels like home. If this video touched you, if it gave you even one answer, one tear, or one breath of peace, then I'm here. Whatever you want to ask me in the comments. I read them, I reply to them, and I'll be here as long as you need. And before you go, just remember this one thing. God is not finished with you. What's coming is something so beautiful, you can't even imagine it yet.